Welcome to our daily Kabbalah discussion. Today, I want to talk to you about something a little different. I will try to talk to you about the illusions and how to disconnect the illusions, or maybe we should call it how to leave the Matrix. Yes, that famous movie Matrix. So one of the ways to really get into reality of life is we need to start investigating and understand the way in which we perceive reality that really negotiates with our physical senses, and maybe then we could start finding a path and actually live really life. So if I'm not mistaken, it's about 20 years or 21 years since they had the movie The Matrix. If I'm not mistaken, it came out in 1999. And tremendous, a lot of great budget and a lot of rewards, and really was able to give a lot of a different expression, a visual expression to really metaphysical ideas and so on that was never done before. And in a way, if you could use that movie Matrix, it could open your awareness to bring about a certain change of your awareness. So of course, you cannot change things unless you become aware of it. And I think the greatness of that he kind of put it out there in all of us, like as they say, in your face. It made real the illusions of the life in which we're living with. So, and it has to do a lot with Torah, and it has to do a lot with Kabbalah. So the metaphysical principles in which the movie is dealing really teach us on the essence of the Matrix and really its true quality. Or in other words, how do we perceive the illusion of the Matrix as the illusion of the universe in which we live in? And it's not necessarily just to give you answers, but to bring, in a way, maybe more questions to kind of arouse your awareness and to develop it towards a change in which we should really strive to point out that maybe there is a different way to look at reality, different than what we got used to it. And by the way, this is something that Chazal is referring to many times, and it appears in the Gemara as well. So in a way, what is really the Matrix? What is that illusion that the movie is asking the spectators to reveal? Also in the movies, the main character, the main hero over there is a guy named Neo. Neo in the way of new, right? It's the same letters. In the movie, they didn't give him those answers on a silver platter. If they would do so, most likely he would not believe them. In terms of Yagata umatzata ta'amin, you work hard, you found, you believe. On the other hand, instead of doing so, he was actually asked to make a decision, the red pill or the blue pill. I love that scene in the movie. And he decided to take the red pill that really was represented in the movie, as in reality, the possibility that is open in terms of everybody that is really willing to go into this path, to get a glimpse on the ability to transfer between illusion to reality. That the mysterious concept that comes with this decisions that you make, which is by itself a tremendous experience, very powerful experience by itself. Lack of awareness, of knowing, maybe can scare you to death, but also in a way gives a tremendous hope. In other words, they say, define where your comfort zone is and live outside of it, because that's really what life is. So, and not time and time after time, should I say, this decision really comes from an understanding that I cannot continue anymore, not even one more minute in the path that I'm going to, in this reality that I'm going to. In other words, I gotta change my life. Now, changing your life, as you would see it, really has to do with how much real you want it to be, and how much dedicated you are to that. So the movie um, really represents a very dark uh, future to humankind, where artificial intelligence and those sophisticated machine that create this virtual reality took over the world and mankind by creating the illusion of the matrix. And then we have this spiritual guru by the name of what's his name, Morpheus, kind of asking people, waking the people up and trying to disconnect them from that false program and really live life the way it is, to basically give them true freedom. Sounds like many times like the words that Chazal tells us, but most of them, if not all of them, actually most of them, should I say, really decide to live in a dream. They don't want to do it. So we have this guy, Neo, which is a hacker, computer hacker, and he decides to take the red pill. And he kind of wakes up, and for the first time, he realized that whatever he thought was the real world is no more than an illusion. And he really dedicates himself to that concept and really able to, in a way, mess up the matrix. And I'm not going to go here through the whole analysis of the 3 movies, which I have about the packer like this at home that talks about it. But I want to talk about something different. So how is the illusion is created, and what's really the quality of the illusion? So there's no doubt that we're talking here about the question of all questions, the mother of all questions, and the ancient question that dealing with it was something that philosophers did all the time and religions did all the time. And one of the ways to really go after the illusion is really to start to investigate and understand in which the way we perceive reality that is really being engaged to us by our senses, as we said before. So let's talk, for example, your eyesight. So many of us still really, as we say, quote unquote, believe only what we could see. You can't see it, it doesn't exist. I mean, that's what we were taught. That's how we were programmed. That's what we go through education all the time. In science, if you don't see it, it doesn't exist, right? If you can't measure it, it doesn't exist. So therefore, we base our assumptions in terms of reality, what we call the objective reality, based on something that we see in other physical senses, even though that they are limited, and even though that they could not really grasp the quickness or the speed of metaphysical of movement, which is much quicker than their own movement. Again, we know that there is ultraviolet and infrared, and we cannot see it. Animals see it, right? We know that, but on a day-to-day, we live in a world that doesn't have it. So if you, for example, take for a second and analyze the way we see things, which we always refer to the eyes, we can understand that seeing is no more than just receiving a photon, which is a particle of light that goes through a signal, right? And those signals goes to the and by the way, you see everything reversed, just the way the brain sees it, right? It actually sees it the way we is, but eyes, because of the size or the shape of the lenses of eyes, we see basically everything upside down. But that center of sight in which comes in the backside of your brain, right, is that place that is really closed and is sealed for light whatsoever. It's really the back of your head that really has many areas to process the images and images upon images until we get the picture of what we see. And so basically saying that the object in which sees is not your eyes, is your brain. The same thing, if I feel something with my hands, you don't feel anything with your hand. Your brain translates what the nerves tell you as, so you basically feel things with your head. Therefore, our objective reality, in a way, is, as you could see, becomes very subjective. So, because it's all about how our mind translates it. I mean, if your eyes would work and there's a disconnect in the nerve between your eye and your brain, you're not going to be able to see it. Your eyes still see it, but your brain doesn't see it. So, it's all about how your mind interprets that. In other words, it's quite possible that you would see things and your mind will interpret it differently than someone else. And, whether it's your, the money that you had, your stock market, the money that you had in your stock market, all of a sudden disappear, or let's say a date that you thought you're going to go with somebody that also went away, even though that they are very painful that this person left you because you planned this whole scenario in your head and your money in your bank that you thought it had, right? Even though it's very, very it's very painful, that they're still very subjective. It's very subjective. It's how you prescribe it. So the same mechanism also works with the rest of our senses. They really receive and they transmit to the brain that information. And the brain is the part in your body, in your entity, that really is responsible on translation of that experience, or the way it interprets that experience. Is that good or bad? So for example, if I touch you like this, you would say, oh, that feels good. If I rub your hand, it feels good. If I take my hand in the same motion, but I just use sandpaper, you tell me that hurts. Well, for people who that mechanism doesn't work right, that's when we start to say that they have problems, but that's the way it interprets that. So in a way, everything that you feel, anything that you smell or you hear and so on and so forth, are just messages that our body receives, transmits, and the interpretation of that is completely subjective. Completely subjective. So that idea in the thing of the Matrix, and I would encourage you to see it, gets a tremendous, way to show it, or it's been expressed nicely when, what's his name, this guy, Neo, meets that little kid. If you remember, there's a little kid, and he takes a spoon like this, and he's thinking about it, and the spoon is twisting. So Neo is really like, oh my goodness, how is this possible? How could I understand something like this? And then the kid says to him something fantastic. The kid says to him, don't try to bend the spoon. He said, instead of that, understand that there isn't really a spoon, and it is your awareness that is being bent. Now, this is really unbelievable. How is it possible for me to say that there's no spoon when I could swear to you that I'm holding the spoon in my hand? Well, that is exactly the illusion. Chazal tells us, tafasta merube lo tafasta. You grab a lot, you didn't grab anything. What do you mean I didn't grab anything? I grabbed a lot in my hand. You didn't get anything. You see, it stems from those kind of concepts of ideas. So the involvement of our senses really makes it real and makes it challenging and so on and so forth. But if you look really deep inside of it, you would understand and see that everything is basically built from energy, right? As what's his name, Einstein said, right? That everything is energy. That the heating quality of every matter, right? That is energy, and energy is arranged in clusters and really categorize itself in a certain order. They create certain formats or certain arrangements and definitions. And just like when you have a holographic, a screen or something, or a computer screen, if you're going to enlarge your computer screen, you'll see it's like little dots, pixels upon pixels upon pixels, until you get a whole entire picture. If I'm going to look at every pixel by itself, I'm going to get nothing. It's just like absolutely nothing. And what are those pixels? They are numbers, and basically the numbers create me an illusion of a picture. If I'm looking basically at numbers that my mind interprets in a certain way because of the arrangement of energy as a picture, but it's really numbers. So if we'll be able to, for a second, turn off our senses, which is near impossible, and just be able to dwell inside to the code of things, we're going to realize and find out that our reality in which we are experiencing is basically a result of our definitions and the patterns in which our awareness is created, and everything else is just an illusion, just the brain says. As the Gemara says, you know, a guy went upstairs, he says, what did you see? I said, an upside down world. You know, whatever I saw here is just the other way around. And when the Gemara in Masechet Chagiga talks about coming out to the place of reality, to Olam Haba, don't say a lie, because you're going to get zapped. In other words, when you see things, what you see it not really is. If you think it's really water, it's not water, it's marble. You know, as the Gemara says over there in Masechet Chagiga, in I think the second parak, the beginning. So when Idan, you with us? So when Neon is looking at the spoon, he really sees his own image. He sees his image in a distorted way. Just like when you go to a park, you know, to a theme park, and you have those crazy mirrors, and it makes you look disturbed, right? He therefore understands that he himself is no more than an illusion inside a world of illusion. I told you this many times. How real is your own life? Are you playing a role in a movie in which you created to yourself? Are you real? Are you willing to become real? How many of us play a role in a movie? The way we dress, we talk, and we live our life, and so on and so forth. And then what happens in the movie? The movie ends and you walk out of the hall and you go back to the reality. I remember as a kid, we used to watch Bruce Lee movies. You know, we used to go in the summer to a movie theater. You pay for one movie and it was reruns. 2 movies and the whole entire day. You watch the whole entire movie. We used to know Bruce movies by heart. Then when you come out of the movie, everybody's jumping out doing karate kicks. It's just an illusion. We thought that the movie continues. We were kids. But everything is that if you're able to go in, you'll understand that you are really also yourself an illusion. So when we stand in front of our mirrors, right? You stand in front of a mirror. What do you see? You see what seems to you is alive, is maybe objective, maybe it's permanent, but it's not. It's just an illusion, because there's no such thing as the real face of you. If you look at yourself when you were, 15 years old or 5 years old or 85 years old, you see that you're changing all the time. In other words, whatever you see is endless interpretations of your own self, on the way you reflect yourself on your environment, and the environment reflects on you. You're never the same. You always change. So once our awareness is being really awakened, and it comes back to understand reality as basically like an energy, you could understand on one hand that our senses are very limited, and they don't really negotiate to us reality the way it should be. And you could really, at that point, break away from the imprisonment of your senses. And that's what David HaMelech says. He says, Ever echad yeshno ba'adam, there's one lib on the person, that if you do the opposite, you gain. If you starve it, you become full. If you become full, if you feed it, become hungry. Well, that's the thing that you understand. You can break away from that. And therefore, you could live life differently. And we are talking about the same physical rules, or the physical laws that we have, that when we understand that only us can cause, or should I say, write the script of our lives. Only us should live the movie of our life that is going to be the result of the way we determine our life. As we say, there's nothing besides me. As Chazal said all the time, right? Bishvili notzar ha'olam. In other words, and Judaism has it many times. Every person, every human being is olam bifnei atzmo, is a world by itself. In other words, if you decide to do so. Now, if you don't define things, somebody else would define it for you. And sometimes that definition completely contradicts really who you are yourself. So therefore, let me ask you a question. What is real and what is not real? Are we really live in a world that doesn't really exist? When we, like, for example, the times they are now, it's difficult. There are no jobs, and people lost dear ones. and it's hard and it's unknown, and we're trying to survive, and there's sickness and there's pain. It looks like, in a way, that there's nothing more quote unquote real than the drama that is happening around us in those giving moments. So how could we call this an illusion? I mean, I'm feeling this. How do we relate to it? Well, let me tell you something. We know that sometimes we have that, what we call the ghost limb. You know, if a person has a limb that was disconnected from his body, you know, they cut off his leg or his arm. Sometimes they still feel pain or sensation. How is it possible? So, oh, my leg hurts. You know, but you forget you have no leg. So, but I do feel the pain, or I do feel a tickling. So how is it? What is really real? How is it? What is real? You know, there is, in a way, it seems like there's nothing more real in the drama that is happening to us in that particular moment. And we forget about the world, and we think the whole world is destroyed. And I told you, you know, without getting into details, one time I had to go to a place I was really concerned on what would be the outcome of that appointment that I had to go. And I felt really like the whole world was on my shoulders, and I saw everything dark. It was a very weird feeling. But then I just picked my head up from this. I couldn't pick my head up from the sidewalk, you know. So I picked my head up from the sidewalk, and I looked at the people, and I said, everything is just normal. So even the drama in which I was going through is my own subjective drama. It's not an overall thing. So what is really real? How could I call this feeling that I was feeling an illusion? But I realized, how could I relate to it as such? So if you're going to allow yourself to open up even for a moment, to so-called come out of this matrix, and to understand that the only reality in your life is the reality that happens inside of you, you could really identify that everything else is just an illusion. And I did challenge most of you to try to disconnect from news, from any kind of stories, from any kind of media. Not good, not bad, not conservative, no reform, no liberals, not this matter, not that, nothing matters. And completely try to evaluate yourself for 3 months, completely disconnect yourself from happening in the world. Don't even look at what the weather is going to be like. Take the weather the way it is. Try to predict the weather based on what you feel, and see what a transformation you will go yourself. I do challenge all of you to do so. So if we will be able to do it, we will see that, in a way, our awareness, you know, creates like walls of stone that really limits our rationale and really kind of play a game on your senses and so on and so forth. But when you're going to come out of the so-called the matrix, and you're going to choose the red pill, you're going to see things the way they are. You understand that the way to come out from your awareness imprisonment is really to understand what is your awareness altogether, to come out from its limitation that it's put on you. As long as you're being carried away and you get carrying after the illusion, as it is the only reality possible, you're going to continue being enslaved to the prison in which you had put yourself in. And that's the worst imprisonment, because in that imprisonment, you are the prison, you are the warden, you are the judge, and you are the jury. You can never escape from yourself. Escaping or breaking away from your awareness is the only way to break away from the illusion, to understand there's something. And that's where the Kabbalah comes to play, you know, or come to help us. And Torah altogether, but especially the Kabbalah. We are like prisoners. We believe that the reality that we live is real, that there's no other way beyond it. We refuse to believe that it's only a mere and measly imitation, a lousy hologram to a really superior reality that awareness could be. We have the difficulty to really think about the thought that we live in a dream that is a result of our own senses. As long as we get carried away and we live that illusion as it is the only illusion, we are enslaved as I said to you, in the prison of ourselves. And we must release ourselves from that imprisonment. We have to disconnect from the illusion. We have to see what really like. And if you want to know a little bit of that, is look at what people say in funerals about the people. I mean, I never heard in a funeral, and unfortunately I had to be in many funerals. I never heard in the funeral that somebody said, "Oh man, this guy was a rough, SOB. He was a great businessman. He was a bull breaker. He gave people heart attacks. He was, he made a lot of money." We never hear. We hear about he was a good person. He was a family guy. He was. You start to understand. We wear badges. Oh, I'm a tough guy. I'm a this guy. Well, practically speaking, it is an illusion. What really counts is were you good, you were bad, you were kind, you were not kind. Look what they're going to say about you when you're going to die. And Morpheus tells Neo to take it the first time to stand. He says to him, listen, you're going to see reality. He said, you know that you know something and you cannot explain. Again, excuse my word because I don't remember it by heart. He said, you know something and you cannot really explain what you know, but you really feel it. He said to him something like, I know you felt it all his life and so on and so forth. You know there's something is wrong with the world, but you don't know really what, right? But it's there, it's out there. It's something, something that it's stuck in your thoughts or something that drives you crazy. That's why you came to me. In a way, that's something that we are looking all the time. We are looking, and there are people who are looking to go to India for this, and they go to this for this, and they go for that. So the worries and the troubles of so-called the Matrix really can give us, put our lives in a trend of like very rough survival. And in a survival situation, eventually you could not survive forever. You have to transition from survival to living. But it's planned like this to always keep us on an edge, to be in a survival, because survival, you're dependent. And there's difficulties. And even if you say that this is financial difficulties, could create diseases and so on and so forth, we have to remember that it's only a picture. And there's something way greater beyond it. Now, the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, in Daf Tzadik Vav Amud Bet, and Tzadik Zayin Amud Aleph, brings a very interesting story about Resh Lakish. Resh Lakish says, "Achoshed b'kshurim lokeh begufo." He who suspects the righteous person get a whack in, get something wrong with his body. In other words, if something bad has happened to you, it's because you're suspecting somebody who should be suspected, right? So, if according to the explanation, you should get some punishment for that. But the Masechta, in a way, says, and we know this about Miriam. Miriam and Neviah, that her source of her tzarat came as a result of that because of something that she said, and she was choshed beksherim, she was choshed the Moshe Rabbeinu, right? And according to this to the discussion and so on and so forth, as the Gemara says over there, there's discussion between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, that these are two different cases that in a way one can go to another. And the discussion between the two starts when Rabbi Akiva says, regarding the Mekoshesh, the person who was gathering wood on Shabbat, he says that a person who was Mechalel Shabbat in the desert and was stoned for that is no other than Tzlofchad. Tzlofchad, the father of those 5 girls who came in and asked for a nachala, an inheritance in the name of a father that died with his sin. Because they said that the reason is that there's no reason that the portion of the father is going to take it away from them when they divided the land just because they don't have male brothers. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera says to Rabbi Akiva, Ben kach uven kach ata atid latet et hadin. What difference does it make? One way or another, you're going to give judgment. In other words, whether you're tzaddik, whether you're the righteous man that this is a mekoshesh, this tzlofchad, right? You're going to give the din because the Torah wanted to hide the fact that it was Tzlov Chad. The Torah did not say it. So you are revealing the fact that the person that the Torah bothered to hide was Tzlov Chad, right, against the will of the Torah. So therefore, you're going to pay for it. And if you are wrong and it's not a Tzlov Chad, you also make you make somebody, you're wrong in your assumption, and therefore you're going to pay for it one way or another. So after that, there is another or similar discussion as a result of Rabbi Akiva words that learned from those psukim that the tzarat that Miriam got is also Aaron got the tzarat. And in this case, Ben Betera says to Rabbi Akiva, Ben kach uven kach ata ated latin et adin. You're also going to give the din. Why? That if Aaron also got tzarat, therefore the Torah wanted to hide it from us, and you're coming and revealing it to us, and if not, also you are motzi las. You're making somebody who's a tzaddik, you're making him look bad. However, later on in the Sugya, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera is giving a different opinion to this psukim, and he's darished them that the Rabbi Akiva says, and the Gemara does not really reveal the reactions of Rabbi Akiva to these words. And the question is this Sugya in a way being defined like Ben Betera? And why is it that this discussion didn't come down altogether when they put the Gemara together? Why we have to bring the suspicion that Rabbi Akiva was mitchayev b'din, whether it's tzadek or whether it's right or it's not right? So what was going on? So it seems that the message of the Gemara wants to give us is basically, in other words, no secrets. No secrets, just everything out, just many cases like this. It also allows us to learn something that is that you could learn and you could learn something, and you could also learn in an independent way. It leaves it basically to your interpretations. The Gemara is telling us that the job of Talmidei Chachamim is what we call lidrosh b'Torah. Lidrosh is to, and the Torah does allow us a great room of self-interpretation. Unfortunately, many times that self-interpretation, especially in later generation, is not being promoted so much. It's like we became like the academia. Academia now, it's all about quoting. It's not, you can't think anymore. So the question is, what is the Torah? The job of Talmidei Chachamim is really to what we call levarer, to assort, to come up with things, to argue about it, to reveal what the Torah is even telling us in a remez, and to learn from that begalui what the Torah is trying to hint for us. And we know that that's one of the ways, what we call the pardes, the orchard. There is pshat, remesh, drush, and sod. Which one is more correct? They are all correct. And whatever, there is a level in the Torah that is called sod, and I could interpret the whole Torah, not me, of course, unfortunately. I could interpret the whole Torah, all the secrets of the Torah, to reveal them. And that's my job as a Talmid Chacham, not to take things in granted. You could see the enormous literature that we have as Jews on the interpretation of the Torah. It's not that because we don't know, because we allow the self-interpretation of the Torah, of course, within the boundaries of what we allowed and not allowed to do. We cannot create a new Torah from this, but the body of the Torah interpreted in whichever way. Chazal told us, Shivim panim Torah, 70 different places to the Torah. Again, the Torah has to stay a Torah. I cannot make a new religion and call it Torah. The Torah has to be the Torah, but you could interpret it the other, whichever way you want. Other religions do not allow you that. And by the way, this is not only the Talmud. Even the Mikra itself, even the interpretation of the 5 books of the Tanakh itself, you're allowed to learn it whichever way you want. That's why I tried to tell you many times. What is the parasha? What is the Torah telling you? What is your self-interpretation of the Torah? Don't just regurgitate to me what he said, what this one said, what the other one said, and all day long you're just busy with other people saying, what does the Torah tell you? If you're going to allow the Torah to penetrate into you, you'll be able to find a lot about yourself. The Torah will become your Sam Chaim, your elixir of life. That is the job of the Torah. the Torah, the Tanakh also, does not ask us to beautify reality, to tell us that to make angels out of our forefathers. It tells us the things that they did right, and the Torah does not have a problem to tell us things that they did wrong and to rebuke them on that. To rebuke them on the things that they did, whether it's Yaakov or Yosef or David or Moshe or anyone. To show you the things the way they are. That's the way of the Torah, to make you, to get you in touch with reality. Even at Moshe Rabbeinu, it says, the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Bechol beiti ne'emanu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives him rebuke and he punishes him. And we need to say, even the Pasuk, the Torah tells of even arguments that our forefathers had with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Whether it's Moshe Rabbeinu says, listen, it cannot be like this. If it's going to be like this, erase me from your book. Or it's Avraham Avinu that argues about Sodom and Gomorrah, that argues with it says, maybe they're 50, maybe they're 45, maybe they're this, and so on and so forth. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepted those words. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu accepted the plea of the interpretation of Moshe Rabbeinu. He says, what are you going to do? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu agrees with that. So if God agrees with that, who are you to disagree to self-interpretation as long as it's within the realms of Torah? The Torah is not afraid to tell us that somebody did an Avarah and so on and so forth. It just demands from us that it's going to be based on what we call limud amiti, truthful learning. This is how we get in touch with reality. Through learning, through investigating. Don't take things the way they are. I told you, define your comfort zone. The comfort zone represents the illusion. Your real life will start beyond your comfort zone. The cities represent an illusion. And we see how the illusion that we had about the well-being and the security that we have with the police protection is an illusion. The illusion that we had about this country, that, it's all an illusion. Because this is our comfort zone. And that is that comfort zone when you fall asleep, when you don't choose to investigate, to change, to interpret, to seek this all the time. That is the problem. And then you fall asleep and you don't want to break up with it. It's like a dream that you don't want to wake up from. And in the story of those 4 rabbis that went to the Pardes, there was one who didn't want to come back. Ben Azai, he didn't want to come back. He stayed in that world, didn't want to come back. Rabbi Akiva, he's the one who was able to go and to come back because he was asking and questioning, and he's doing so in order to learn from it. The limud. So as much as Matrix tells Neo, if you're going to choose, I don't know where my glasses are. I have to get those glasses. If you're going to choose the red pill, you're going to stay, or I don't know. If you take the, how did you say it? If you're going to take the blue pill, you're going to stay in Alice in Wonderland, and if you take the red pill, I'm going to show you how deep the rabbit hole really is, and so on and so forth, right? What are you going to choose? Choosing the red pill for me is choosing the life of Torah. There is no way for Torah to be an illusion unless I create the Torah into becoming a part of my illusion. When I'm stagnating the Torah and I'm not allowing new interpretation, new change, when I'm learning in a way that does not invigorate me for self-searching, for redefinition all the time of who I am and what I am. As the Chazal tells us, until the day you die, never believe in yourself. In other words, you always believe, I made it. You're always changing. You're always able to change. That's the power of tshuva that is engraved in the DNA of the Jewish person. Tshuva means to change. I have an answer. Why do I have an answer? Tshuva is to give an answer, not only to come back. Come back to whom when you make teshuvah? You come back to the real you, who you really are, not who society told you to be. Tshuva is an answer. But you only have an answer, Rabotai, if you have a question. And to have questions is an important part of learning. A student that doesn't learn, that doesn't ask, does not learn. What are you going to choose? And that will be also in the way you learn, how you live your life. What are you taking? What are you choosing to deal yourself with? When you're going to go to college, you're going to make your decision based on profitability. You know, profitability, when it comes to decision in life, is a derivative of fear. What are you afraid of? Go on a journey. Go find that. Connect to the real you. But the only way to do so is through the Torah. Learn Torah appropriately. I will tell you, watch the Matrix also. Think about what I told you. Think about your life. Think about what is, and somebody once told me, I remember who he said it to me. He said to me that the amount of lies that you lie to yourself, you'll never be able to how should I say, to sell it to anybody else besides yourself. You lie to yourself more than you lie to others. Something on that line. You never even dare to lie to others as much as you lie to yourself. Examine yourself. See. And that's why the Chazal tells us, Ein ben chorim ela mi she'osek b'Torah. Real freedom would only come through esek. The Torah is your business. That's how you're going to become free. You're not going to become free because somebody decided that you're free. It's how you prescribe yourself in your head. The mental slavery that we are at is the biggest prison in the world, and yet the smaller one, because it's right here. So, Rabotai, have a wonderful day. Have questions, please reach out to us at rabbigaon@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If there's anything that you need, support, questions, help, advice, feel free to do so. rabbigaon@gmail.com. You can visit us on our YouTube channel at Yeshiva, on our website at yeshivaetzion.com. We are on Torah at a Time. We are on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all other wonderful places, and many other sites that I don't even know. Let's get in touch with reality. You can also become a partner with us in our endeavor to bring the truth to the people. You can either join us learning. You're welcome to join us learning through the Zoom session that we have right now. And hopefully when we'll be able to come back, you can join us in person. We're more than happy to do so. I think our yeshiva is probably maybe the only place that does not ask questions about where did you learn beforehand and what's your level of observance. You want to learn, you're interested in learning, you're welcome in our midst. And if you want to be a partner, if you can't come because you're overseas or you're far away, you can become a partner by helping us and donating to the yeshiva so we can continue function. If you want to dedicate something to Eloi Nishmat, you can do it also on our website. We have a slot for PayPal or Venmo also over there you can do. But the bottom line is, don't just take another day or live the rest of the day that you have today as just you did before. Look for a change. Make a decision, a conscious decision to get in touch with the real you, with the real reality. Ask questions. I guarantee you'll find the answers. And even if you don't, it will be a wonderful journey. Have a wonderful, meaningful day.